This PowerPoint is from chapter 12 and it is on prosocial behavior, in other words, essentially good behavior. Let's look at a quote. Altruism is the best source of happiness. There is no doubt about that. And in the next, most of you probably know what altruism means, but we'll look at that a little bit further in the next slide. Prosocial behavior, altruism, and empathy. Prosocial behavior is voluntary behavior with the intent to help other people. That's a pretty simple explanation. I'm sure you could have guessed that. Altruism is when we act to promote someone else's welfare, even at a risk or cost to ourselves. And empathy is the capacity to understand another person's perspective, to feel what they feel. An empathetic person makes an emotional connection with others and feels compelled to help. So very similar definitions, but a little bit different. One kind of takes a step further than the other. So why do we form relationships with people? Proximity. Obviously, we form relationships with those who are geographically closest to us because they're the most available. Homophily. We are attracted to people who are like us. Unfortunately, as it says here, that limits our exposure to diversity. And we know that diversity is a very positive thing and that we can learn a lot from people who are different than us. But again, unfortunately, we tend to be attracted to people who are like us. Reciprocity, the give and take in relationships. We contribute to relationships, but we expect to receive benefits as well. That is, we want our relationships to be a two-way street. We don't want to be the only one contributing to the relationship. Self-disclosure, we tend to form more intimate connections with people with whom we disclose important information about ourselves. So those are all some reasons that we might form relationships with other people. So a similar question, why are we attracted to certain people? Well, there, of course, is physical attraction. And I think this is interesting. This is what men and women most look for in each other physically. Women, it is large eyes, high cheekbones, a narrow jawline, a slender build, and a lower waist to hip ratio. It seems that in men, we look for being tall, having broad shoulders, and a narrow waist. Of course, it is worth noting that physical attractiveness is culturally influenced. Different cultures value different things. So beyond physical attraction, there are social traits. Social traits people find attractive in potential female mates include warmth, affection, and social skills. And in males, the attractive traits include achievement, leadership qualities, and job skills. So those are some things that universally tend to be attractive to people physically and socially. So let's move a step beyond that and ask, why do we love certain people? Sternberg's triangular theory of love indicates that a healthy relationship will have all three of these components in the diagram. Liking the person or intimacy, companionate love, which is intimacy and commitment to the person, empty love, which would just be commitment, but there's no passion or intimacy. Fatuous love would have passion and commitment, but no real emotional intimacy. Infatuation would just be passionate, but no intimacy or commitment. And romantic love would have passion and intimacy, but you're not really committed to each other. However, he says consummate love is what you want. You want to have all three components, passion, intimacy, and commitment. And that's a healthy relationship, according to Sternberg. And that's why we love certain people, because we have one or all of those things. So now let's take even a step further and ask, why do we stay in relationships? Social exchange theory is a social psychological perspective that suggests human relationships are formed based on the exchange of rewards and costs. It posits that individuals assess their interactions by weighing the benefits they receive against the sacrifices they make. So when we're in a relationship, we whether it's conscious or not, tend to weigh the positives and benefits against the negatives and costs. And we stay in a relationship most often when the positives outweigh the costs. Whether that be a love relationship or a friendship, really any kind of relationship, we tend to want to be in ones that the positives outweigh the costs, which makes sense. As always, thank you for listening, and please reach out with any questions.